back to episode 5 of Hourglass Trails. We were talking about the early part of the day and how it has changed over times, the whole scenario of busy life these days. And we have words of wisdom coming down from many forefathers. For example, Henry Davis Thoreau, who was from Concord, Massachusetts, has said, morning is the awakening hour, and it's because all memories and experience at that time comes to light. The Vedas say all intelligences wake up in the morning, and poet William Blake, to sum up the whole day, has said, think in the morning, act in the noon, read in the evening, and sleep at night. Characterized with all this, we have a modern life scenario, a short paragraph sent in by my friend Jane, who is a working mom. She says, there were times when I started my day by clubbing down on the alarm clock, then jumping out of bed and rushing to get myself and my kids to school. And then I would be storming out to drop children, but I would be usually late at school. The day would start badly with me looking half asleep and falling back inward. But with a renewed morning start, I have become much better. I get so much done with just 1 hour ahead. But on the other hand, there are people who are said to be night owls. No way can you change the habits. They just like to enjoy the night. And one dad says, I am a night owl and I can change that. I have balanced life with my habits. So much so that we know, although we know that mornings are good to start, but we also know that when the sun is down here, it's up somewhere else. So we live in a times when the sleeping world and the waking worlds need to function together. So we are thankful to people who do work through the whole night and they have to sleep in the morning. They can't really put in the morning hour for us. And we appreciate that. However, I'll start now with Nader and ask us, I have heard that teenagers or the high schoolers in USA get much less sleep than they're supposed to be getting. Like they're supposed to be getting at least 8.5 hours to 9 hours of sleep, and less than 68% of those students get that. And we know lack of sleep results in migraine headaches, obesity, even immune system disruptions. While we may be teaching them at school about the goodness of early rising, but it doesn't help them really, because practically they can't maintain what they are being taught. Would you think of any solutions to helping out this huge student population to get a proper sleep?
I feel like what keeps most students up at night is the fact that after school they get like work to do, like homework. They get to take their work at home, so that keeps them like up during most of the day or even at night, because sometimes people, even like high school kids, they have to like work jobs and stuff, so I mean they have to like balance that in their lives. So I think that I don't know if it's a great solution or not, but I feel like schoolwork should be kept in school and not like you shouldn't take it at home, you know?
Like you said, would you say like maybe the education system also, they also have a tough time to finish their yearly program and everything. But on that regard, I also read some suggestions, I don't remember exactly where, but that maybe high schools can start earlier. Usually they start before 8, right? So if they start a little bit later, would that be helpful to the students?
Definitely, it would be. They would
Definitely.
be able to get more sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, because look at the huge population, huge student population. They are the futures, our nation, the whole world. And if you think it in the long term, and I mean, people do get into serious trouble to lack of sleep. And it's the fight against keeping up with their studies and the proper health.
Absolutely. If you're like not getting enough sleep, you're going to be cranky the next day, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be in a great mood. So that affects work performance too, and like even performance in studies.
So maybe not only that, it's not taking only on us, right, Joel, that I have to do it. Maybe the education system, the teachers, when they are in rapport with their students personally, some of them, not everybody marches on equal footing. Maybe some students need some other kind of help, give them a little bit slower routine, like they help them out, the counselor, or the students should be encouraged to reach out to the authorities when they need special help. As a mechanical engineer, I'd like to know about your little bit of like work experience, if you want to share.
Well, the work experience I had was in the nuclear power industry.
Wow. Ah.
I was involved in designing and servicing nuclear reactors throughout the world.
Wow.
And
That brings memory North Korea, right?
North
what
Korea.
it is doing now.
Well,
nuclear-
North Korea is not building nuclear reactors for power. They're building it for weapons.
Yeah.
But I
isn't
was
it
involved in many nuclear reactors for power in South Korea.
Okay.
And I spent couple years in South Korea during my career.
Wow.
And circling back to the food, though, I think you were mentioning before about if you didn't have electricity, what you would eat. Well, in South Korea, when I was staying there, I rather than doing any cooking, I would rely on eating at the restaurants that were available and eating South Korean food, and that was probably one of the more interesting parts of spending time in a foreign
South Korea.
country.
Now, I would like to go back to the nuclear thing again. I mean, I said nuclear, but what's the difference between nuclear power and, it seems like nuclear is all about...
Well, nuclear power are reactors that generate steam to generate electricity. They heat up water, and just the way a coal or oil would be used to heat up water, they use the nuclear reaction to heat up the water.
So when does it become a warfare?
Well,
to what level? I mean, is it development level or something?
Well, you've got to concentrate the radioactivity, the uranium, the fission products, and much more highly than is used in a nuclear reactor.
I suppose we just can't. I mean, it's a big topic, right?
It's a big topic, yes.
Thank you for sharing that. We see in family members, some are eating healthy, and some have to go to the microwave food and all that. But here is a budget concern also, right? Suppose if we would buy food every day, we're spending money, but we are not eating healthy. But if we sit around the table, family table, and discuss it and budget it down to have healthy food in the fridge, not have to rush to a place to buy food, would that work for family? Not only breakfast, other times like the kids' lunch that need to take, the work lunch that we need to take, the working people need to take, instead of kicking all the time the bought things. What do you think of that?
Well, certainly having food prepared at home is a much healthier lifestyle than eating out.
But it's a sort of, if we discuss it together, then often we are too busy to see through another window, open another window and say what's out there, because this one is already open. So do you think family discussions in this way are healthy things to do? We are not talking only about supper, not breakfast, other foods too. Do you think that is more helpful? The family sittings together and talking about it.
We've been concentrating on breakfast, but throughout my life, dinners has always been where the family has gathered and to review the day's activities. And because by dinner time, everyone was finished with their obligations.
Okay.
And so dinner time would be where the family would gather. And,
Yeah, though we have started with the earlier part of the day today, but actually dinner tables, kitchens were essential part of family bonding over years, and that has sort of scattered these days because of the demanding, that rushing hours we have. We have a family dining table that sometimes hardly visited by people. We sit in front of the TV and talk, or we sit outside and eat. It's for many families, this has become a way of life. But I wish things were, like more family bonding. When we look at youths going, losing their ways in life, at times I wonder, if this is where we need to watch out more of the family, the human touches that we are letting go. So now there's coming to your Pakistan, you mentioned your family scenario, and I really know that because it's quite familiar in Bangladesh. We also saw the family scenario, the mothers and all the great helps we had. The kitchen is always busy, and it's where you get a healthy start. You come into the kitchen in the morning, the smell of omelette and the paratha and everything, and you feel so happy going out because your stomach is filled. And it is said in one of Irving Stone's book, I think I read, where he says that a hungry stomach has no ears. So before you go out, we really do need some healthy food that really makes us. So suppose in Pakistan, the younger generation that are working parents, although we are talking about having a good start, having family bonding in the morning, it's quite impossible sometimes. I understand that very much. But like in here, the difference between I see in Bangladesh and here, there are great daycares here where we can leave babies and the children can go to work. And the truth is that not too many families can run on one person's earning. So do you have support system like that in Pakistan, good daycare system? We hardly have any in Bangladesh.
I think there's when it comes to daycare, I don't think that's a thing back home. But usually, what's very common is that in many households, people who are if both the parents are working, they're able to afford like live-in help. Or it's quite common to have live-in help back home. People would like have someone who would like prepare food for them, help with like cleaning up stuff. If they have kids, they would help out with the kids. So there's that kind of help that's also more helpful than daycare, because I think it's like that kind of help is like always there. It's like at home. You don't have to drop off your kids and. So, yeah.
That's a great system. This is a different system of working with the working parents. So mornings are not stressed out like here in America. I'm sure John also knows it. Like if there are crew kids at home and parents have to go to work in the morning, there is not hard time to think even of the coffee. Even if you have a coffee brewer ready, that's 7 o'clock. It does give the human being pours your tea. But the one kid is to go to one school, another in daycare, and then there actually is no morning scenario other than just call it rushing out. With the baby, everybody's out. But taking advantage of this enormous privilege we have in America of having a daycare, not having to keep people at home, because when you keep live in help at home, you are also responsible for them. And this is a great, I think, both have their benefits and backwardness, but balancing between is there any difference between like your parents' times, your time with your parents, and now what you see the daycare systems now?
When I was a child, it was very unusual to have both parents working. There was always one parent that was home. In fact, when I was going to elementary school, I would come home for lunch at elementary school. I lived close
Wow.
enough and walk home. And then when I had a family, at the beginning there was only I was working, but eventually my wife was working, and then things got more hectic, and we never did. We would have preschool. We took advantage of preschool care, but of course we would wait for the children to be about 3 or 4 years old. Whereas my youngest son, his child started daycare when he was about 3 months old, which
Wow.
was took us a while to get used to that, but it seemed to work out.
Yeah, I mean, coming to this, how we evolve with the demands of this is remarkable. Even I can say, like, we don't even have a good daycare. We have few, but not so reliable. So people have to decide really whether to keep the child at home or in the daycare. But we get sucked into life the way it moves. And talking of mornings again, we try to keep remembering like the advice that our parents, grandparents give us, forefathers give us, and try to go back to what has been known to be good. But younger generation, they would not always agree, because we are looking into a faster world perhaps, and there is no time to fall back. And Nader, would you have anything to say to that? I mean, is there really that we don't have any choices other than moving with the force? And
Sometimes I think those choices are made for you in a way, because when you choose a career, if, for example, there are two parents who are both working, they made a certain choice to work, and if they decide to have kids, then they wouldn't be able to give that amount of time to their kids as they would if one of the parents wasn't working. But at the same time, it depends from person to person. It's not that either of it is wrong or right. I think if a person can like make it work for their kids, be there for them on time, that's what matters, I think.
thank you. But actually, I mean, it is true. I mean, no matter how much we say the things in were better or more humanistic long time back, but it is also true that unless you move with the world, you fall behind. The world doesn't wait for you. You have to move on. However, though, I would always never agree with the fact that we do not need to be in touch with in more humanistic way, human touches that are missing. I think these are. I don't think in the long run these are going to be beneficial to us. The loving, the kindness, all that comes from direct human touches. If it's not there in once in a time, I think it's going to affect our brains in one way or other. Maybe out of sight, out of mind really does have a meaning. For example, if I can mention, I started reading at a very early age, reading storybooks. One of my favorite was a translation of Russian fairy tales. The stories are remarkable, but more than that, I remember I grew up with my grandmother. I remember the distinct smell of her and the touch of her, and how I knew she was all the world to me. And what a love that was. But when I watch my grandkids, their audiobooks are on and they are listening, but that human touch isn't there. Although we have to move, but I think maybe we do need to give a few more thoughts to being more closely bonded to children and family members. What do you agree to that, Nader, and both of you? Just
well, there was a saying, quality time. So probably quality time is even more important now than it was years ago, when you had a lot of time. Some of it was quality, some of it may not have been, but now it's important to have quality time with the family and with children especially.
Nader?
I think growing up when I was a child, I always had like either my mom was an English teacher, so she
Oh.
made sure that we like read books, and she was very like particular about that. Even like when we so I used to live, me and my family used to live in Kuwait before. So
Oh.
when we moved to Pakistan, we lived there with our grandparents. So my grandmother, she would also like you said, she would read stories to us. So that was very nice, and I feel like these days, I'm not sure people might do that, but it's definitely something that is evolving. There's different ways how people spend time with their kids now, but I mean, maybe they should go back to how they would just sit down and like tell stories, and it's
Yeah, I
always
mean, it doesn't
nice.
have to be every day, right? Make it as routine, like 3 days I do this and 3 days it's on your own, something. Surely, if we can chalk out our routines for the whole week, if we make it a point to put it there, maybe we can. Um, but again, mornings for artists, writers, and many thinkers, we have it's said that the morning hours are times when you're most productive, when the energy levels are highest in thoughts. So, keeping that in mind, perhaps we will go on reminding people how mornings are important and to have an earlier start to the day. But we know that the society is a competitive place, and whether we are night owls or the morning person, or whether we are lark or the owl, life will go on. But at least in the hectic times, we should never perhaps forget to remind each other that look at the sky, there is nothing going on, but it's moving. Like the poet that, what is life without staring up at the blank sky? Because nothing is actually happening, but life is still going on. Time to look at the flowers and the sky and the birds. That sort of gives peace. Nature that always absorbs you and but fills you with peace. So thank you very much,
Thank you
Nader,
for
for
having me.
joining us today.
Thank you for having
And
me.
Joe, thank you very much. You made the whole day for us.
Thank you.
And lastly, though, I'd just like to say one thing before we will be taking off from today. Would you think if we, for Nader and Joel both, if we explain more on, like, if we talk to our children and our friends more about how productive we can be, we can change the daily routines, that would be helpful to even neighborly meetings, social gatherings, and meetup groups to spread of the concept of early rising. How would that work? Nader? Group meetings. I mean, I
Like
always
waking up early as a community, you mean?
No, I mean meeting more people and spreading the goodness of it, just like reminders to everybody that look, we
Or
need to
just
slow
spreading
down.
the awareness that waking up
Awareness,
early is
exactly.
important. I
Yeah.
think that's a very good idea, and we should probably go back to that culture where people used to wake up early in the morning and they would
Yeah,
have breakfast, and it's also important in terms of family, like you pointed out,
yeah.
and it's I think it's important to talk about it.
Thank you again, Joe
You're welcome.
and Nader.
You're welcome.
Till we meet again, dear viewers, be healthy and strong.